Friends, welcome to ePathashala in linguistics. We are dealing with the typology section here, and today my name is K.V. Subbarao. Today we are going to talk about noun modification in Tibeto-Burman languages. You know what noun modification is? A noun can be modified by an adjective or a participle or a full relative clause with the WH word. When a noun is modified by a participle, the participle is normally in the non-finite form, that is, it is tenseless. So, we are going to see how the participial strategy works in Tibeto-Burman languages and how the full relative clauses function in Tibeto-Burman languages. We also want to see, while discussing this, the relevance of data and theory and their symbiotic relationship. There is a symbiotic relationship between theory and data, and they support each other. While data provides a rich support to theoretical claims made in the existing literature, theory provides a path to look for solutions while you are analyzing data. The study of relative clauses in Tibeto-Burman languages helps us to understand the intricate nature of modifying strategies in universal grammar, and we are going to see what are the new strategies that Tibeto-Burman languages adopt to relativize a specific head NP. We also see how similar and Tibeto-Burman language relative clauses are in terms of their nature and formation from the other three language families of the South Asia. What are the distinctive features of Tibeto-Burman relative clauses? As you know, all Tibeto-Burman languages are SOV and hence they are left branching. Nominalization of the embedded verb is the primary strategy. When you have the non-finite relative clause, normally in, let us say, Indo-Aryan or Dravidian languages, you have something like the participle may be a perfect participle, as in baitha hua admi, the man who is seated in Hindi. The ya indicates a perfect aspect marker, or take the one in English, broken chair. The en indicates a participial form of the verb break. So, broken chair, broken modifies chair. Here baitha hua, the seated man, the seated, baitha hua means seated, seated modifies the man. It also in Hindi, for example, you can have an imperfect participle modifying a relative clause, as in chalti gadi. The ta is an imperfect aspect marker, and in Hindi, in English, it will be the running water. So, you have the ing as the imperfect participle marker. So, what happens in Tibeto-Burman languages when you are modifying an NP by the non-WH strategy, your embedded verb, that is the verb of the embedded clause, is always in the non-finite or infinitival form, except in a few cases which we are going to discuss. Finite verbs are also permitted. This type of relative clauses, where you have a gap in the embedded clause, they are called the gap relatives. You also have full-fledged relative clauses in Tibeto-Burman languages, but very few Tibeto-Burman languages have full-fledged relative clauses. So, what we are going to see now is all the positions of the accessibility hierarchy, noun phrase accessibility hierarchy are accessible for relativization. Then we are going to discuss what are the devices that are used for relativizing these various positions of the NP in the accessibility hierarchy. We are also going to show that reduplication, which is normally considered to be a morphological process, is a very productive syntactic process in Sema, which is a Naga language, and in Kukichin languages, which are like Mizo, mar, thado, etc. in the formation of free relatives. And we also have to, we will also show that there is another way of relativizing when you have an indefinite relative, free relative, where the head is indefinite, where you can have a verbal indefinite marker coming in the relative embedded clause. Okay, we will now discuss the gap strategy. Gap strategy is the primary strategy in Tibeto-Burman languages, as all Tibeto-Burman languages have the gap strategy. That is, you have a gap in the embedded clause or you have a gap in the matrix clause. When the gap is in the embedded clause, you call it an externally headed relative clause, that is, the head is in the matrix clause. When the gap is in the matrix clause and the head is presented in the embedded clause, it is called internally headed relative clause. As you can see in one, you have an embedded clause and there is a null variable that is co-indexed with the NP in the matrix clause, and that null variable is a covert operator, and that is co-indexed with the NP, head NP in the matrix clause. The null variable is indicated by a 0 and the co-indexation of the 0 takes place with the head in the matrix clause. In the internally headed relative clause, as in 2b, you can see the head is overtly present in the embedded clause and it is co-indexed with a null NP in the matrix clause. This null NP can be a pro, and remember that this null NP is an obligatory small pro because it cannot be overtly present in an internally headed relative clause. That is what exactly distinguishes an externally headed relative clause from an internally relative clause. Very few Tibeto-Burman languages have the full relative clauses, that is, the boy who came here is my friend, where who is a relative pronoun. You have such relative clauses are very few, and what are the languages that have them? You have the Naga languages, some of the Naga languages like Angami, also called as Tenidie, Sumi, also called as Sema, Awo Mongsen, spoken in Nagaland, Awo Chungli, again spoken in Nagaland, Lotha, Keja. There are non-Naga languages too. You have Missing, you have Rabha, and you have Kokborok. All these languages have internally headed full-fledged relative clauses, and notice that these are the languages that have been in contact with some Indo-Aryan language, either directly or indirectly. Let us take a full relative clause from Sema. In 1a, you can see Timi, Ku, Akati, Zie, Akiano, Itehi, Hile, Eli. The man who sells fruit came just now. There is a relative pronoun Ku, and you have a relative verb, embedded clause, the verb in the embedded clause, Jie, and you have a relative linker. What does the linker do? The linker links the subordinate clause with the matrix clause. This kind of linker you do not find in any Indo-Aryan language. However, it is found in Dravidian languages, which we are going to discuss very soon. In Sema, you have a free relative clause where the head is indefinite. You can pronounce it like, let us say this sentence, Ku komo atili ipeling kena prize itulni. Whoever comes first will get the prize. The head is indefinite, and the embedded clause and the matrix clause are linked by a dubitative marker. What is a dubitative marker? It is a marker that expresses doubt, and it normally is a verbal particle. It occurs to the right of the verb as the final constituent. So, you have Ku komo is whoever, and you have kana as the embedded relative clause linker. Let us take the example from Telugu, a Dravidian language. Now, you have take away what you want or take away whatever you want. So, you have a relative linker O which connects the embedded clause to the matrix clause. It is this relative linker that gives the embedded clause status to the embedded clause. In Tamil, you have another sentence like Yar ange mudali vandu cheruvaro our ticket vangalam. Let whoever reaches first buy the ticket. Again the head is indefinite and the marker is a dubitative marker, that is O linking the main clause and the subordinate clause. So, what are the special features? These are full-fledged relative clauses and you cannot, and these are relative correlative constructions. As you know, in a relative correlative construction, the correlative clause cannot be extraposed to the right of the matrix clause. That is, in a relative correlative construction, you have the embedded clause first and then the matrix clause. You cannot have the order of the matrix clause coming first and the embedded clause coming later, as you can see in sentence number 3 from Tenidiye. So, rightward extraposition not permitted. Shako or liervi sumi sodu or nya ba sha. Sa is the dubitative marker in Angami, and this sentence is ungrammatical because the embedded clause is extraposed to the right of the matrix clause. Interestingly, in Telugu too, you cannot extrapose, Telugu or Tamil or any language, you cannot extrapose the embedded clause to the right of the matrix clause. As you can see in 4a, you cannot say 4b where adi pattukupo edi kavalo. That is, you have adi pattukupo, take that away, which is the matrix clause. The nature of the dubitative marker that occurs in Angami or Sema is identical to the nature of the dubitative marker that occurs in Dravidian languages. We will provide one piece of evidence here. So, we said that there is a linker she in Angami and O in Telugu. Since it is a dubitative marker, the speaker should be able to express doubt by attaching this marker to a clause. Let us see, I wonder who wants to come. Sumiye from Tenidiye, sentence number 5, Sumiye or nya ba shi. In Hindi, you have to say, मुझे पता नहीं कि कौन आ रहा है. You have to have two sentences. In English, I wonder, one sentence, matrix clause, who wants to come, embedded clause. But in Dravidian and in some of the Tibeto-Burman languages, just by attaching a marker to the right of the verb, you are expressing a doubt about the speaker's coming or not coming. Let us take another example from Telugu. Number 6, Intaki Repu Yavaru Vastaro. Emo. Emo is optional. That is, I wonder who would come tomorrow. This is exactly identical to Tenidiye. So, this kind of evidence proves that both Tibeto-Burman languages and Dravidian languages share a very important feature, namely that there is a linker that links the subordinate clause to the main clause. Remember, neither a speaker of Tibeto-Burman languages or a speaker of any Dravidian language had any contact to be able to come up with the similar lexical category which manifests similar functions. That is, this indicates that the cognitive capabilities of the human mind are so powerful that they can relate seemingly unrelated phenomena. What are the seemingly unrelated phenomena? A linker in the relative clause and the same linker expressing doubt. Both the languages, Telugu or Angami for example, belonging to two different families, have the same marker, a similar marker. This indicates the cognitive capabilities of the human mind to relate seemingly unrelated phenomena and to place them under one lexical category. Now, from now we will move on to the externally headed relative clauses. As you recall, externally headed relative clauses and internally relative clauses, these are part of the gap strategy. When the gap is in the embedded clause, it is called an externally headed relative clause. When the gap is in the matrix clause, it is called an internally headed relative clause. For the sake of convenience, we might refer to them as externally headed relative clause as EHRC, internally relative clause as IHRC. In an externally headed relative clause, the postposition indicating the grammatical function of the null variable with the embedded verb is universally absent. Let us take an example of an externally headed relative clause from Stenidie, that is also called as Angami. The boy who is wearing a red shirt is my friend. Boulier Kemeri se Keba Kriesa Ivuye Azimie. You have in S2 there is a null variable. That null variable is co-indexed with the young man Kriesa, the boy who is wearing a red shirt. Since it is an externally headed relative clause, only one NP is permitted, that NP is in the matrix clause. Now, Kuki-Chin languages manifest two types of externally headed relative clauses. You know that Kuki-Chin languages have a very rich agreement pattern, where you have the subject agreement marker on the verb, an object agreement marker on the verb, an indirect object agreement marker on the verb, etc. So, in pattern 1, these are the Kuki-Chin languages are ergative absolutive. The subject carries an ergative marker when the verb is transitive. So, in pattern 1, the embedded subject carries the ergative marker and consequently the embedded verb carries the agreement marker. In pattern 2, the embedded subject carries no ergative case marker and consequently the embedded verb carries no agreement marker. That is as in 9 from Mizo. We are going to see them right now. So, you have Mizo, a direct object is modified, the ergative marker n on the embedded subject and the agreement marker a on the embedded verb are overtly present. Let us see that. Museum Zovan Ahmu Chu Lian Takani. The museum Zova saw is very big. You have the direct object Zova saw a museum, and this is an externally headed relative clause. Therefore, the embedded verb does not carry the head. So, you have Zovan Ahmu. What is Zovan Ahmu? The museum. The ergative marker, the verb see is a transitive verb, you have the embedded subject Zova carrying an ergative marker, and as a result the embedded verb carries the agreement marker. That is what we are going to show today, is that the ergative marker and the agreement marker and the embedded verb, they go in hand. That is in 8. Let us see, let us go to sentence number 9 in pattern 2, that is the ergative marker n and the agreement marker a, both are not overtly present. We have indicated them by a 0. Museum Zova Hmuchu Lian Takani. the museum Zowa saw is very big. Though the embedded verb move is transitive, the ergative marker is not overtly present on the embedded subject, and the agreement marker is not present on the embedded verb. Again it shows that ergative marker, that is the case marker, and agreement marker go hand in hand. That is, case and agreement are inherently and intrinsically connected. This is the one of the claims that the government and binding framework and the minimalistic framework have consistently been making, and Tibeto-Burman languages provide, especially the Kuki-Chin languages, which have a strong agreement pattern with an ergative absolutive pattern, provide a great support to the theoretical claim made that case and agreement are intrinsically linked. Now, let us go to the point C. If the verb of a relative clause is always non-finite, or can it be finite? We are going to show right now that in Kuki-Chin languages, when the subject is modified in an EHRC, the occurrence of the subject agreement marker on the embedded verb is prohibited. However, the embedded verb is in the finite form. As you will see in the section on Mizo, that in Kuki-Chin languages there are two types of verbs, the finite verbs, the finite verb form and non-finite verb form. These are called stem 1 and stem 2. This is discussed in Kuki-Chin language as stem 1 alternation and stem 2 alternation. What we are going to label for evidence, with evidence, these as finite plus finite and non-finite. So, what is interesting is, let us just see sentence number. When a non-subject is questioned or relativized, the subject agreement marker has to occur. So, let us see, we will show now. The boy who got the prize came to our house. Here the boy is the head, it occurs in the matrix clause because it is an externally headed relative clause, and the corresponding NP in sentence number 10, you have a 0 in the subject position because the subject is a null variable. Loman, again 0 agreement. Hmu is to get. Notice that to the next to the right of get, I have indicated it as plus finite. That means this is the plus finite form of the verb, that is as it is called stem 1. So, Loman hmu kha mipano upang ka kaina a local. The boy who got the prize came to our house. So, this is a case of subject modification, and subject is the head in an externally headed relative clause. So, why there is no agreement marker on the verb when the subject is modified? Notice that in 10 you have a null variable. So, when the subject is absent that is when the subject is not present overtly, you cannot have agreement on the verb. Again, this is providing evidence in support of the claim that case and agreement are intrinsically connected. There is no ergative marker because it is a null variable, therefore, there cannot be an agreement marker on the verb. By the way, this happens only in subject modification. When you have an indirect object modification or a direct object modification, the subject of the embedded clause is overtly present. What is the other piece of evidence that we can see why the agreement marker in an externally headed relative clause is not present in Kuki-Chin languages? Now let us take this sentence. Lali ate this fruit. Lalin he theihi aei. In is the ergative marker, I is the third person agreement marker. Since it is a transitive verb, you would expect the ergative marker to occur. Now, when you question the subject NP, like for example, who ate this fruit? Tu inge he teihi ei. That is, who, you cannot have the agreement marker on A, though there is an ergative marker on the question word in, tu inge, that is person, ergative marker, and ge, the question word, he theihi aei. A cannot come there, therefore it is A. I have indicated that by 0. So, one might ask, here case and agreement do not go together. Why? What we can prove is that when the subject is being questioned, the subject is present in the sentence, but it is moved away from its position to a spec position. We will come to these details a little later. So, this does not go as a piece of counter evidence against the claim that case and agreement go hand in hand. There is a movement which we call short term movement that takes place in sentences like this, though therefore, the who is there overtly with the ergative marker, but it is not in its subject position. So, the ergative marker, the agreement marker cannot occur on the verb. Let us now go to the accessibility hierarchy. There is subject at the top, direct object next, and the indirect object at next. We have seen the direct object modification, we have seen the subject object modification. Now, we are going to see the indirect object modification. In the indirect object in all Tibeto-Burman languages can be freely modified in the externally headed relative clauses and in the internally headed relative clauses, except in Telugu there are certain conditions, but it can be modified in Angami. Dravidian and Munda languages and including Khasi, a Mon Khmer language, freely permit the relativization of an indirect object. In your text, you can see sentence number 14, where you have an indirect object modified from Manipuri. The person you wrote a letter to is good, that is, you wrote a letter to a person, the person is the head. So, it will be you letter wrote person is very tall. In an internally headed relative clause, we said that the head occurs internally, and there are two types of internally headed relative clauses in Tibeto-Burman languages. What are the two types? The internal head type A, the internal head overtly carries a case marker that indicates the thematic relationship of the head with the embedded verb, and the internal head does not carry the postposition that thematically links the verb. Recall what thematic linkage is: cut and knife, bring and well, etc. So, let us take an IHRC from Sangtam, a Naga language spoken in Nagaland and Manipur. The person you wrote a letter to is very tall. So, what is the embedded clause? You wrote a letter to a person, the person is very tall. So, since the head is internal, the indirect object Nistari Khang is Khangi is overtly present in the embedded clause in sentence number 18. And what is the Khangi? What does Khangi indicate? Khangi indicates the recipient of the action of writing. Another thing that you can see, the embedded verb carries, the embedded verb cha carries ba, which is a nominalizer. It is a nominalizing strategy, and the matrix clause carries a gap. Why? In an internally headed relative clause, I told you that it is a pro and it is an obligatory pro. That is, you can never have a pronoun manifested there. In the IHRC of type B, where the internal head does not carry a postposition, you can see it from Mizo as in sentence number 20. Lali, the cow whom Lala gave food to, died yesterday. Lalan Bongbu Apekha Zani Khan Athi. This is from Mar. So, the indirect object postposition is not present, whereas in a simple sentence, as you can see in 21, the indirect object marker dative is present, but it is optional. Lalan Bong Koma Bu Apek Ta. The comma is optional in a single clause, simple clause, whereas it cannot be present in the embedded clause in a cookie chain language. Now, let us go to the oblique nominalization. The oblique nominalization is oblique, whenever oblique, what do we mean by oblique nominalization? An ablative or a locative or an instrumental or an elative. Ablative, from the well, for example, instrumental, with a knife, and locative, on the table, elative, to the school. These postpositions indicate either the location or the instrument or the source or the goal, etc. When an oblique NP is modified in cookie chain languages, what happens is you have an oblique nominalizer na that occurs with the verb. This oblique nominalizer is a very productive nominalizer, as I am going to show you now. Let us take instrumental PP as head, the non-agreeing type from Mar, where you have the knife as the head and it is an externally headed relative clause. So, the knife as head comes in the matrix clause. Lala Tei Atna Chemte Chu Angei. The knife with which Lala cut the fruit is sharp. So, this is the non-agreeing type, where recall that in non-agreeing type the ergative marker with the embedded subject is absent and consequently the embedded verb does not carry any agreement marker. Na is the oblique relativizer. It is this na that tells you that it is the knife which is an oblique object that is the head of the relative clause. This is a very specific feature of the cookie chain languages. What is the function of na in cookie chain languages? In compound formation, the oblique nominalizer na is a very productive suffix in compound formation. For example, in Mar, Mizo, Thado, Zo, Paitai, Wi-Fi, in all these languages you can form compounds with the na, with the oblique nominalizer ka, na. Okay, let us take this one from Mar. Chung urna. Chung means bread, ur means bake, na is the oblique nominalizer which indicates a location, that means bakery. Chuat no na, floor, mop, instrument, na is the instrument marker and it means mop. Lekhabu dahna, lekhabu means book, da means keep, na is an oblique nominalizer which indicates location. Where is the place you keep books? It is the library. Then note that na could have ambiguous interpretation with regard to place or instrument. For example, take this sentence, take this phrase, cho ei na. Cho is rice, ei is to eat. Now, na could be either a location or an instrumental. If it is a location, the place where you eat, it is a hotel or a plate. Or if it is an instrumental, the instrument with which you eat, that is spoon or a fork. In Dravidian languages also, that kind of ambiguity arises. Why? Because in Dravidian languages, let us take this one, the leaf Kamala ate, the leaf on which Kamala ate. Both these sentences have only one surface form, Kamala tinna aku, Kamala ate leaf, which has two interpretations, that is the leaf that Kamala ate or the leaf on which Kamala ate. The reason for this ambiguity is, recall that in an externally headed L2 clause, the postposition that indicates the thematic relationship of the head NP with the embedded verb is not overtly present. What do you have in that position? You have a null variable. Can a null variable carry a postposition? The answer is no, because postpositions always need a host in South Asian languages and in many other languages of the world. So, when there is no host, there is no postposition in the embedded clause. When there is no postposition, you can have two types of interpretations, the leaf that Kamala ate, the leaf on which Kamala ate. They both get the same surface structure in Tibeto-Burman as well as in Dravidian languages. I would now like to show briefly that reduplication, which is considered to be a morphological process, plays a very important role in Tibeto-Burman languages. One of the examples I am going to show you is from Sema, a Naga language spoken in Nagaland. The water which you brought from the well is dirty. Sentence number 23. Well is a zakiki. A is a general possession marker which is used in Sema and many other Tibeto-Burman languages to indicate possession. That is, A is used with things that are very intimate or close to the speaker. For example, family, field, horse, cow, pigs, etc. These are the things. So, you have to have an A with the noun. It is also a relativizer, but here it is a general possession marker. Nono azakiki lono, from azur, water, siye, bring, k is a nominalizer with the embedded verb, u is a definite marker, t, that, a minus transitive, mitemo. Mitemo means is not clean. This means the water which you brought from the well is dirty. And where is this? The head is occurring internally in the embedded clause. So, you have azakiki lono, the postposition is overtly present. Recall that in Naga languages the postpositions are overtly present. Notice what happens when you make an ablative PP as the head. The well from which you brought water is dirty. So, to make an ablative PP as head, what Sema does is, it partially reduplicates the word well by dropping the general possession marker. That is in 24, nono azakiki lono aza saye keu, 0, the GPM general possession marker is absent, zakiki ya mitemo. That is, you are partially reduplicating to show that the head is an oblique NP, the well from which you brought the water. You are not using reduplication as a strategy to show, as in sentence number 23, that the water which you brought from the well is dirty. So, we will stop here, and we have shown in this unit that reduplication has a great value in the formation of relative clauses. It's a syntactic, it has syntactic implications. We have also shown that case and agreement are linked. We have also shown when in questions the movement of the question word to a from the subject to spec is possible. That is why you you have the ergative marker, but no agreement marker on the subject, etc. We have also shown the difference between internally headed L2 clauses and externally headed relative clauses. We have shown that in no externally headed relative clause in any language of the world, you can have a postposition that overtly manifests the relationship between the head and the embedded clause, whereas in the internally headed relative clauses, the postposition may be present as in Naga languages, or should be present as in Naga languages, and should not be present as in Cook-Kichin languages. We have also shown the role of the dubitative marker in Tibeto-Burman and the commonality that it has with Dravidian languages. Thank you.